What if I told you that in the most oppressive regime on earth, where religion is banned and dissent means death, thousands of Christians once marched through Pyongyang streets demanding justice, only to leave as Muslims? How did this happen? And what does it reveal about the power of faith under tyranny? North Korea is a nation where the state is the only god. For decades, the Kim dynasty has erased religion, replacing it with fanatical devotion to the regime. Churches are propaganda props, Bibles are contraband, believers vanish into labor camps. Yet in 2023, something unimaginable occurred, a land where religion is forbidden. Kim Jong Un, the same leader who executed his uncle with an anti-aircraft gun and starved his own people, stood before the world and praised Islam, not just as a philosophy, but as a better way of life. The reaction? A Christian uprising, a protest that shook Pyongyang, and a mass conversion that left intelligence agencies scrambling for answers. This is the untold story of North Korea's greatest religious rebellion. The speech that broke North Korea Pyongyang, January 2023. The annual Supreme Leader's address was always propaganda, but this time Kim Jong Un stepped onto the podium with an unsettling calm. Comrades, I have studied the Quran. Silence, then murmurs. Officials shifted uncomfortably. For a dictator who banned all religions, this was heresy. Kim continued, quoting Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah does not burden a soul beyond what it can bear. He spoke of Islam's discipline, its resistance to Western influence, its emphasis on collective unity, values that mirrored Yucha ideology, but with faith at the core. The message was clear. Islam could coexist with the regime. Christianity could not. The Christians who had enough. Young Min-ho was a secret pastor in Hyesan. For 20 years, he'd baptized converts in freezing rivers at midnight, knowing discovery meant execution. When Kim praised Islam, Jung's hands shook with rage. He dares to legitimize one faith while we rot in shadows. Through smuggled radios and covert networks, word spread, march on Pyongyang, demand freedom or die trying. On February 14, 2023, they came. 3,000 Christians emerged from alleys, safe houses, and mountain caves. They carried crudely painted signs. Why Islam and not us? We believe too. Security forces hesitated. No one had ever protested like this. The mass conversion. As troops moved in, something unexpected happened. Kim Jong Un appeared on a balcony overlooking the crowd. Instead of ordering a massacre, he spoke softly. You cry for freedom. Islam is freedom. From greed, from weakness, from the West's corruption. Then, the gamble. I will build mosques in every province. Any citizen may enter, including you. The crowd froze. Was this a trick? A trap? Young Min-ho stepped forward. And if we refuse? Kim's reply was ice. Then keep hiding like rats. A murmur spread. Some Christians spat in defiance, but others wavered. A woman named Lee Hye-ri, whose son had been shot for owning a cross, suddenly screamed, I'll convert! Like dominoes, hundreds followed, some out of fear, others genuine curiosity. By nightfall, over 1,200 protesters had pledged to Islam. The aftermath. The regime's propaganda machine roared to life, flooding state media with triumphant headlines. Great leader unites faith and state, and a new era of spiritual harmony. Posters appeared across Pyongyang, depicting Kim Jong Un standing before a gleaming mosque, his hand raised in benediction. But behind the spectacle, North Korea was unraveling. The Christian underground, once united in silent resistance, now splintered into factions. Hardliners, led by Pastor Choi, a grizzled survivor of Camp 14, declared the converts Judases and apostates of the cross. In midnight sermons held in mountain caves, they preached vengeance, their voices trembling with betrayal. Meanwhile, the new Muslims found themselves trapped in a paradox, welcomed by the state, yet distrusted by their neighbors. At the Araman Mosque, converts whispered of being followed, their names added to watch lists despite their professed loyalty. Within the regime, the backlash was even more vicious. General Ri Yong-ho's execution sent shockwaves through Pyongyang's elite. His final moments, tied to a post as a pack of starving hounds was unleashed, were secretly filmed and circulated among high-ranking officials as a warning. Other dissenters met quieter fates. Vice Minister Park disappeared after questioning the cost of mosque construction, while propaganda director Kim was sent to a psychiatric ward for delusional opposition to the marshal's vision. Yet the chaos birthed unexpected alliances. In Chongjin, a group of former Christians and Muslim converts formed an underground railroad, smuggling persecuted believers into China. Their guide, a defected border guard who had memorized Quranic verses to survive interrogations and found faith in the process. By summer, the cracks became undeniable. A fire gutted half of Nampo's model mosque before its grand opening. State news blamed saboteurs, but eyewitnesses reported seeing soldiers torch it themselves. Then came the leaks, grainy cell phone footage of Kim Jong Un screaming at aides, hurling a Quran against the wall of his private train. This was supposed to control them, not divide us. The world watched, transfixed. CIA analysts debated whether this was collapse or reinvention. Tehran doubled down on aid, shipping crates of Persian-language Qurans. Seoul's intelligence service intercepted orders to purge imams deemed too independent. And in a safe house near the Tumen River, Jung Min-ho, now a hunted man, pressed a knife into the hands of a teenage convert. "They'll come for you next," he warned. "Not because you pray to Allah, but because you dared to choose." Outside, the first snow of winter began to fall, burying the bloodstains of the year's final executions. The message was clear. In North Korea, even revolution could be co-opted, but the cost of control was spiraling out of even the supreme leader's hands. This wasn't about religion, it was always about control. Kim Jong Un's sudden endorsement of Islam followed a chillingly precise authoritarian calculus, the same playbook used by dictators throughout history when their grip begins to slip. By elevating Islam while continuing to suppress Christianity, he executed three strategic objectives with brutal efficiency. First, the division of resistance. For decades, North Korea's underground Christian networks had maintained a fragile unity in their shared persecution. By granting Muslims privileges denied to Christians, the right to worship openly, access to religious texts, even state-funded mosques, Kim turned oppressed against oppressed. Neighbors began reporting neighbors to the Bowibu, secret police, not for being religious, but for being the wrong kind of religious. The underground church's rallying cry of religious freedom for all splintered into sectarian infighting. Second, the creation of a new loyalist class. The 1,200 converts became Kim's unwitting shock troops, their public devotion to Islam serving as performative loyalty to the regime. They were given marginally better housing rations, their children quietly prioritized for university placements. This manufactured privilege made them both envied and resented, ensuring they defend the system that gave them status. Meanwhile, surveillance footage from the Ar-Rahman Mosque showed converts being coached to praise Kim's enlightened leadership during Friday prayers, their faith reduced to political theater. Third, and most crucially, the economic smokescreen. As rice prices soared to 5,000 won per kilogram and electricity blackouts stretched for weeks, state media ran endless segments on Pyongyang's magnificent new mosque. When the UN released damning reports on malnutrition, Korean Central Television aired footage of Muslim converts receiving ceremonial iftar meals. The message was clear: forget your empty stomachs, behold our religious tolerance. But the masterstroke came in the international arena. Overnight, human rights critics found themselves disoriented. "How can you call us repressive?" North Korean diplomats smirked in Geneva, "when we're building mosques." Muslim-majority nations, long pressured to condemn Pyongyang, now hesitated. The UAE quietly renewed oil shipments. Pakistan blocked a sanctions proposal. Iran accelerated nuclear technology transfers, all while citing North Korea's progress on religious freedom. Yet this authoritarian alchemy contained its own poison. By allowing Islam to take root, Kim had inadvertently imported concepts no dictator could fully control. Submission to higher authority, the equality of believers, the imperative of charity. When converts in Raisin began sharing Ramadan meals with starving Christians, the Bowibu arrested them for unauthorized solidarity. When a young Muslim technician refused to fix surveillance equipment, quoting Quranic prohibitions on spying, he vanished into Camp 16. The world remains divided on how to interpret Kim Jong-un's religious gambit. Western media largely portrays him as a hypocrite, a godless dictator suddenly playing pious to manipulate both his people and the international community. State media in China and Russia, meanwhile, frames him as a pragmatic reformer, carefully modernizing North Korea's approach to governance. Both views miss the fundamental truth. Kim operates beyond such simplistic labels. This is a leader who had his own uncle executed by anti-aircraft guns, yet reportedly keeps a well-worn copy of Machiavelli's The Prince on his bedside table. A man who starves his population while developing nuclear weapons, yet ensures Pyongyang's elite have access to the latest smartphones. His embrace of Islam follows the same ruthless logic, not as a genuine spiritual awakening, nor as mere propaganda, but as the latest evolution of a survival strategy refined across 3 generations of Kim rule. What critics fail to understand is that in North Korea, oppression isn't static. It's an ever-adapting organism. Kim's grandfather crushed religion through brute force, executing believers and demolishing temples. His father perfected the art of fake tolerance, building showcase churches while disappearing actual worshippers. Now, the third Kim has pioneered something more sophisticated: controlled acceptance. By elevating one faith above others, he doesn't eliminate religious resistance. He fractures and co-opts it. The pattern extends beyond religion. When faced with economic collapse, Kim didn't choose between Stalinist control or Chinese-style reform. He created socialist enterprise responsibility, allowing just enough market activity to prevent starvation while maintaining party dominance. Confronted with international isolation, he didn't surrender his nukes or double down. He developed nuclear diplomacy, using weapons tests as bargaining chips while playing world powers against each other. This is the essence of Kim's leadership: an uncanny ability to take seemingly contradictory positions and weaponize them. Islam becomes both a tool of control and a shield against criticism. Markets become both economic lifelines and new vectors for surveillance. Nuclear weapons serve as both deterrents and bargaining chips. In each case, the regime survives not through consistency, but through constant, calculated reinvention. The terrifying brilliance of this approach is that it leaves opponents perpetually off balance. Sanction Kim for human rights abuses? He points to his new mosques. Criticize his nuclear program? He offers denuclearization summits with no intention of complying. Decry his economic policies. He permits just enough reform to sustain the system while blaming failures on foreign enemies. For the North Korean people, this means oppression doesn't lessen. It simply mutates. Yesterday's labor camps become today's re-education centers. Last decade's public executions become this decade's unexpected disappearances. The Christian persecutions of the 2000s give way to the Muslim favoritism of the 2020s. Same repression, different mask. As one defected security officer put it, the Kims don't rule through strength or ideology, but through perpetual reinvention. They're always one step ahead, turning every challenge into a new method of control. In this light, the Islamic experiment isn't an anomaly. It's the latest proof that in North Korea, even apparent change serves the same unchanging goal: the survival of the regime at any cost. So what comes next? A religious thaw, or a reign of terror to end all others? In North Korea, the answer may lie not in Pyongyang's palaces, but in the whispered prayers of those with nothing left to lose. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.